The new cap hit for 2026 for Patrick Mahomes is now sitting at $34.6 million.
Patrick Mahomes isn't happy right now, and it's all because his contract has been restructured again for the fourth consecutive year. His cap hit dropped from $78.2 million to $34.6 million, freeing up a massive $43.6 million in cap space. Now Mahomes is fighting back, and things are about to get wild. The restructure, what Mahomes did. On February 18, 2026, the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes agreed to restructure his contract for the fourth consecutive year. This was a scheduled, collaborative move between a quarterback and a franchise that has been doing this exact thing every single offseason since 2023. Here is what the restructure actually looked like. Before the move, Mahomes carried a cap hit of $78.214 million for the 2026 season. That number alone was enough to put the Chiefs in serious trouble heading into free agency. The team was already projected to be somewhere between $50 and $60 million over the salary cap for the new league year. Without a significant change, there was no path to building a competitive roster around their franchise quarterback.
Before the restructure, Mahomes was on the books at $78 million. Over $78 million.
So what did they do? They converted $54.45 million of Mahomes' scheduled 2026 compensation, specifically $44.05 million in base salary, plus a $10.4 million roster bonus, into a fully guaranteed signing bonus. Under NFL rules, that signing bonus gets prorated across the remaining years of the contract. The immediate effect was that Mahomes' 2026 cap charge dropped from $78.214 million to $34.653 million.
The new cap hit for 2026 for Patrick Mahomes is now sitting at $34.6 million.
That is a single move cap savings of $43.56 million, one of the largest single-player cap relief transactions of the entire 2026 offseason across the league. Now, the first thing people want to know when they hear a number like that is, what did Mahomes actually lose? His actual cash earnings for 2026 remain approximately $56.75 million, consistent with the original structure of the deal. The restructure did not reduce his paycheck. It changed the accounting. Mahomes still gets paid. The Chiefs just get to spread the cap number differently. What it does cost the team is future flexibility. The newly created signing bonus is prorated across the remaining years of the contract, which increases Mahomes' cap numbers in each of the subsequent 4 seasons, 2027 through 2030, by approximately $10.89 million per year.
But you look at next year, holy cow, $85.2 million cap hit for Patrick Mahomes next season.
That number, $85.253 million, is now his projected 2027 cap hit. That is what the 2026 restructure loaded onto the following year. But the Chiefs and Mahomes clearly view that as a problem for the next offseason. Right now, in early 2026, the priority was getting cap compliant before the new league year began on March 11th. And critically, this was not the first time Mahomes did this. This restructure represented the 4th consecutive annual adjustment to his long-term deal, a pattern that began after his record-setting 10-year, $450 million extension signed in July 2020.
Patrick Mahomes, big-time restructure today. Big-time team player moment from number 15. As for the 4th consecutive season, every year since he initially got the new extension, he restructures his contract with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Every year, 4 straight years. The 2023 restructure alone converted a significant amount of his deal and added 2 void years, 2032 and 2033, to further smooth the cap implications going forward. The 2024 and 2025 restructures followed the same playbook. Each one generated tens of millions in cap relief. Each one added slightly elevated numbers to future seasons, and each one was done without any reported friction from either side.
Every penny of that $43.5 million that got rolled over to 27, 28, and 29 is fully guaranteed for Patrick Mahomes.
That is the part that gets lost in the headlines. When the money moves forward, it does not disappear. It is guaranteed. Mahomes will receive every dollar. The Chiefs simply get more breathing room in the year of the restructure, and they use that room to build the team around him.
This is Patrick putting team before player, but knowing down the line he's going to get his cash. He's still getting great cash this season as well at 34.6.
The restructure alone, however, was not going to be enough. The Chiefs still had more work to do, and the cuts were coming. The cuts, who got released and why. The $43.56 million Mahomes' restructure created was not enough on its own. At the time of the restructure, the Chiefs were projected to be approximately $50 to $60 million over the salary cap for 2026, following a challenging 2025 season that ended without a playoff appearance. That means even after freeing up $43.56 million, the team still had more work to do before they could reach compliance by the March 11th league year deadline. General manager Brett Veach and the front office moved methodically. They identified the contracts that could be removed cleanly, weighed the on-field cost against the cap benefit, and executed. The first move came on February 23, 2026. The team released defensive end Mike Dana, a two-time Super Bowl champion and six-year veteran who had provided rotational depth along the defensive line. His release generated approximately $8.9 million in direct cap savings for 2026, with only $2.167 million in remaining dead cap charges.
Mike Dana is the most obvious, outside of Jawaan Taylor. $8.9 million for a guy who's been declining every season over the last couple of years.
That is a clean, low dead cap cut. Dana had given Kansas City years of solid service, but the math was not complicated. The savings were real, the dead money was minimal, and the defensive scheme was already looking toward younger options in the draft. The move was viewed internally as a straightforward cap trimming step that allowed the organization to begin addressing other areas without immediate pressure. Then came March 4th, 1 week before the league year opened, and the Chiefs executed two significant moves in the same day. First, the official release of right tackle Jawaan Taylor, who had started 52 regular season and playoff games over 3 seasons as a primary protector for Mahomes on the right side of the offensive line. Taylor's scheduled 2026 cap figure was substantial. His release cleared approximately $20 million in space, with roughly $7.4 million in dead money.
Jawaan Taylor's ass is getting out of Kansas City. They are cutting him, I promise you.
The reason came down to one calculation.
If you leave him on the books. However, 20 million of that is available as cap savings if you cut him before the start of the year. It's game check. So he's got to play those games to get that 20 million in salary.
The decision reflected the team's strategic priority of reallocating resources toward offensive line depth that could be addressed more cost-effectively through the draft or lower-tier free agents, particularly after the offensive line faced consistency challenges in 2025. Taylor had also been a source of frustration for fans due to his penalty issues.
While Jawaan Taylor's a fine right tackle, his penalty problems drive us all up a wall, and we're ready to go without this dude.
Hours later on the same day, the Chiefs pulled off a move that was more complex than a straight cut. The team traded cornerback Trent McDuffie to the Los Angeles Rams, sending away a former first-team All-Pro and key secondary contributor in exchange for a significant haul of draft picks centered around a high second-round selection. The trade freed an additional $13.6 million against the 2026 cap while injecting future draft assets into a front office that was actively trying to reload.
A trade with the Rams for probably pick number 29.
The McDuffie trade was the most debated move of the offseason for Chiefs fans. Trading away a proven all-pro corner to chase draft capital is never comfortable, but Veach had done this before, valuing team control on a rookie deal over paying a veteran at full market rate. The move was described as part of a broader effort to refresh the defensive backfield through youth and draft capital, rather than retaining every high-priced veteran. Finally, rather than cutting linebacker Drew Tranquill outright, which had been projected to save around $6 million, the Chiefs and Tranquill reached an agreement that lowered his 2026 cap commitment through a targeted adjustment to his base salary and incentive structure. This allowed the organization to keep his veteran experience in the linebacker room while still contributing to the overall financial alignment. Collectively, these moves transformed the picture entirely.
So before the release of Mike Dana and Jawaan Taylor, we were at negative $11 million in cap space because of the restructure of Patrick Mahomes.
Then the releases hit one after another.
With the release of Mike Dana, that saved us nearly $9 million, up to $2 million, or negative $2 million, excuse me, just a little under negative $3 million, if I'm doing my head math correctly right now. And then you release Jawaan Taylor, and now you are north of 17 million in the positive.
From negative $58 million to positive cap space in weeks, without blowing up the roster entirely. But to understand why the Chiefs were drowning in cap debt in the first place, you have to go back to what the 2025 season did to this franchise. The 2025 season collapse that made all of this necessary. The 2025 NFL season marked the first losing season and playoff miss for the Kansas City Chiefs since 2012, and the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era, starting in 2018, that the team failed to reach the postseason. The final record was 6-11. 9 consecutive AFC West Division titles and playoff appearances were over. That is not a slump. That is a wall. The season started with a 0-2 record, stabilized briefly with a 5-win stretch in the middle of the year, and then fell apart completely, finishing with a 1-5 slide over the final stretch before Mahomes even got hurt. The Chiefs placed third in the AFC West, a sharp contrast to their recent dominance as perennial Super Bowl contenders. Mahomes played in 14 games before his injury, posting 315 completions on 502 attempts for a 62.7% completion rate, 3,587 passing yards, 22 touchdown passes, and 11 interceptions. His passer rating stood at 89.6. Those are not bad numbers in isolation. For Mahomes, they represent a step back. The efficiency dropped, the turnovers crept up. The red zone decisions he had been lauded for in previous seasons became the thing he was pointing to himself in post-game press conferences.
Yeah, I mean, we've had great moments, we've had bad moments. We got to be more consistent as a team.
That consistency problem was visible in the numbers, and Mahomes knew it.
I got to be more consistent at quarterback, and we got to be able to battle.
The rushing numbers were actually a career high, 64 attempts for 422 yards and 5 touchdowns. But that signature scrambling ability, the thing that has bailed Kansas City out of countless broken plays, was about to become a liability. Because on December 14, 2025, in a 16-13 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers, that mobility ended the season. Mahomes suffered a season-ending knee injury late in the Week 15 game with under 2 minutes remaining. He grabbed his left knee after a play and was unable to continue. Post-game imaging confirmed tears to both the anterior cruciate ligament and lateral collateral ligament in his left knee. No additional damage to arteries, nerves, joint surfaces, or the meniscus was reported. He underwent successful surgery the following day, December 15, 2025, in Dallas, performed by orthopedic surgeon Dr. Daniel E. Cooper. The procedure addressed both ligaments. Mahomes was placed on injured reserve and missed the final 3 games of the regular season.
I haven't talked to him about that. I feel like he's going to be the most competitive guy possible in his rehab to get back and hopefully get back by the start of the season. But
Travis Kelce had not even had a full conversation with Mahomes about the 2026 season yet. The injury was that fresh.
I think I haven't talked to him about any of that, man. I'm just, I wish obviously this season wouldn't have happened the way it did. With him going down and
without Mahomes, the Chiefs went 0-3 to close out the year. The offense had no answer. The 6-11 finish was confirmed, and the front office went into the offseason staring at a franchise that was over the cap, missing its quarterback, and picking 9th overall in the draft for the first time since 2013. The 2025 season did not just cost the Chiefs a playoff run. It built every single pressure that forced the financial decisions that followed. And to understand how deep those financial pressures run, you have to go back even further, all the way to the contract that started it all. Mahomes' contract history and the long game behind the numbers. The restructure in February 2026 did not come out of nowhere. It was the 4th chapter in a contract management story that started in July 2020, and it is worth going back to that origin point to understand exactly what kind of long-term framework the Chiefs and Mahomes built together, and why this is the machine that keeps producing cap space year after year. Patrick Mahomes signed a 10-year, $450 million contract extension with the Kansas City Chiefs on July 6, 2020, marking one of the most significant deals in NFL history at the time, locking him in as the franchise quarterback through the 2031 season. The agreement carried the potential to reach $503 million through performance incentives. When Stephen A. Smith first heard the terms, his reaction captured what most people felt.
I was stunned because of the years, not necessarily the money, because you're talking about a $40 million a year player when you take the guarantees.
The years were the thing. 10 years is a long time in a sport where careers end on a single play.
So I wasn't surprised by the number. I was surprised by the number of years because usually NFL teams don't make that kind of commitment considering the volatility of the sport.
But the deal was not structured like a typical contract. It included $63.08119 million fully guaranteed at signing, along with an additional $141 million in injury guarantees and mechanisms that could bring total guarantees up to approximately $477.631 million based on roster status and specific vesting dates. Crucially, The extension was designed from the outset with built-in flexibility, the kind of design that anticipated the very restructures that have now been happening every year since 2023.
Yesterday, when I saw this deal, I had to pull my glasses down and really look at these numbers and realize that this is an investment.
And that investment has been managed with a specific recurring tool. Each year since 2023, the Chiefs and Mahomes have collaborated to convert large portions of his scheduled base salary and roster bonuses into fully guaranteed signing bonuses. This approach prorates the converted amounts across the remaining contract years for cap accounting purposes, dramatically lowering the immediate cap hit in the current season, while distributing the financial impact more evenly over time. In practice, these moves have consistently added roughly $10 to $11 million to Mahomes' cap numbers in each of the subsequent 4 seasons, which is exactly what the 2026 restructure did again. The 2023 restructure was particularly notable as a comprehensive revision that accelerated cash flow, effectively providing Mahomes with an additional $48.3 million in guaranteed money between 2023 and 2026, while introducing 2 void years, 2032 and 2033, to further smooth cap implications. The 2024 and 2025 restructures followed the same core mechanic. Now in 2026, the post-restructure cap projections look like this: approximately $85.253 million in 2027, $53.014 million in 2028, $55.414 million in 2029, and $56.415 million in 2030 before tapering in 2031. The 2027 number is the one that will dominate off-season conversations next year, because $85 million for one player on a single season cap is a structure that demands another creative solution in 12 months.
That's where that money went, guys. That's where the $43.5 billion got dumped to primarily, is that 2027 season.
But there is also a mechanical layer to this contract that provides Mahomes with layered financial protection regardless of what happens with restructures. Guarantees tied to roster bonuses vest automatically on precise league year dates as outlined in the contract language. For example, on March 13, 2026, the 3rd day of the new league year, a $6.1 million 2027 roster bonus became fully guaranteed, locking in additional security for Mahomes without impacting the 2026 cap in any meaningful way beyond what had already been restructured. By 2028, the Chiefs are widely expected to pursue either a contract extension or another significant modification to reset Mahomes' cap trajectory entirely, as his scheduled salary drops significantly in those later years. The same cycle, the same collaboration, the same result. This is what Swagoo saw in the original contract structure back in 2020.
Looking at the way they structured it, it will be a dynasty, a bunch of lump sum payments that's not going to hit against your cap in crazy ways in order to continue to build teams.
The 2026 restructure is not a problem. It is the system working exactly as designed. And with that system now in motion, every dollar it freed up has been pointed directly at one thing: building the team that will be waiting for Mahomes when he comes back. The injury recovery, the draft, and what comes next. Everything the Chiefs have done financially in this offseason is in direct service of one goal: having the right team around Patrick Mahomes when he comes back from a torn ACL and LCL. That recovery is the lens through which every single roster decision in 2026 must be read. Rehabilitation began immediately following surgery on December 15, 2025, with Mahomes progressing through structured phases focused on swelling reduction, range of motion restoration, strength building, and eventual sport-specific conditioning. By mid-January 2026, he was already reporting that rehab was hitting all the checkpoints. His stated goal from the start: be ready for week 1 of the 2026 season without restrictions. Chiefs Vice President of Sports Medicine and Performance Rick Burkholder noted in December 2025 that a typical timeline for this type of injury is around 9 months, with potential variation of 1 to 2 months in either direction depending on individual factors. A 9-month window from mid-December surgery would place full clearance near mid-September 2026, aligned closely with the expected start of the regular season. In late March 2026, Mahomes shared video footage of himself throwing a football, marking the first public evidence of on-field activity since the injury. That video circulated immediately. NFL insiders, including Jay Glazer, pointed to Mahomes' work ethic and pain tolerance as factors that could accelerate the timeline. No setbacks have been reported in rehab as of April 2026. He continues to project as the undisputed starter when cleared. Travis Kelce, when asked whether Mahomes had encouraged him to stick around for another season,
I feel like he's going to be the most competitive guy possible in his rehab to get back and hopefully get back by the start of the season.
That word, competitive, is the organizing principle for the entire 2026 offseason. The Chiefs are not just managing a recovery, they are managing a rebuild around a recovery, and the draft is the central instrument of that rebuild. The Chiefs hold the number 9 overall pick, their highest draft position since 2013, plus an additional first-round selection at number 29 acquired via the Trent McDuffie trade, 2 first-round picks, in a draft that Brett Veach has publicly assessed as deep at the positions Kansas City needs most.
Is there even more excitement this time, considering we're picking at 9? This team hasn't picked in the top 10 in a very long time, and you have a chance to get a really good player early on?
Veach's answer was measured, but the enthusiasm was real.
Yeah, I think certainly there is. I mean, obviously you don't ever want to be picking that high, but I think we're in that situation, so we have to make the most of it.
What are the Chiefs targeting? The injury recovery and Mahomes' reduced mobility in 2026, at least early in the season, point to several specific areas. Primary areas of focus include offensive line depth and protection to safeguard Mahomes during any ramp-up phase and compensate for any temporary reduction in escapability. With Jawan Taylor gone, the right tackle spot needs to be addressed either through the draft or through free agency. Skill position reinforcements are also a priority. Running back additions such as the signing of Kenneth Walker III or wide receiver help to provide reliable targets and reduce reliance on Mahomes creating plays off script. When Mahomes comes back from this injury, the offense needs to be built around the run game early. The scramble plays and off-platform magic that define his best football may need to be rationed in 2026. Defensive upgrades are also on the list, especially along the edge and in the secondary, to keep games competitive while the offense integrates back to full strength. The McDuffie trade created a real hole at cornerback. The front office will need to address it through the draft or through free agency or both.
What are some of the strengths of this draft in terms of depth?
I think it's the defensive line. I think
He went further, 2 first-round picks.
is pretty solid through the first 3 rounds. I think you're going to have a lot of DNs off the board early. So the D-line, in particular, the defensive end position, I think that there's really good depth at the wideout position and some solid depth at the corner position.
Depth at defensive end, receiver, and corner. A team that has already done the cap work to enter the draft with financial maneuverability. The organization's strategy balances optimism about Mahomes' return with proactive roster construction, ensuring the supporting cast can perform effectively regardless of exact recovery timing. Kansas City went from negative $58 million to top 10 cap space. They cut players, traded an all-pro corner, and restructured the most important contract in franchise history, all before the draft. And Mahomes, rehabbing a torn knee in the background, helped make every single one of those moves possible. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.